I would assume that it was a rebellion against the establishment, was what people said. And probably a lot of kids didn't want to go off to war and die. And there were drugs. Drugs became a big thing at that point. I think it was probably a combination of stuff. And it was probably a good thing. In one sense, we learned to think outside the box and act more on our own free will as opposed to strict society rules. We still have them, but we have more people that tend to do their own thing and can step back and look at those rules and decide whether they should be followed or not, instead of just blindly following the rules.
Vietnam brought it all on. The love and peace, and that was a movement to rebel against the Vietnam War. If you had a friend who went off to war, which I don't understand war enough, I don't agree with it, but if you had friends who you did, everybody in that generation had friends who went off to war, and if you had some of those and they came back, they were definitely not the same person.
That war was terrible. I was 19 years old in 1968. That was when the Vietnam War was at its peak, and they were drafting any guys 19-year-old. I mean, they were putting them in the Army. They were sending them left and right. They actually had a lottery there for a few years. In 1968, I had to go be examined for the Army. I went to Chicago, Illinois to be examined for the Army. And my lottery number was 14, so I mean, I was as good as gone. And your grandmother, Mary Ann, she started flushing her birth control pills down the commode, down the toilet, and she got pregnant. And I didn't even know anything about it. I mean, as far as I was concerned, I mean, here I am, 19, lottery number 14, I'm gone, She got pregnant, and we sent the letter from the doctor to the draft board in Lafayette, and they reclassified me 4A, so I didn't have to go.
I remember watching the news and seeing dead bodies, and that was like one of the first times they had shown dead bodies on television, and there were a lot of people that had major problems with that. People getting shot, and I was young, I didn't understand a lot of it, and I guess I felt sorry for everybody, for the people that were getting shot, for the people that were coming home and people didn't care. People didn't care about them. And then they stand in the streets, the hippies stand in the streets and were like all for love and peace and all of that stuff, which was ending the war, and yet they turn around and treat the soldiers badly. It didn't make any sense to me.